One of the best ways to get better at working with data is to understand its life cycle or the journey it goes on throughout our product experiences. And fortunately for us, that idea and that life cycle is neatly encapsulated in an acronym called CRUD. So let's explore what that means. So, like I was saying, every product today is built on data. Whether it's Airbnb and you've got your listing there, that's got a ton of data associated with it. You have those titles for the product listing, you have the all the specifications. Does this place have air conditioning? How many rooms does it have? How many beds, bathrooms? All of that is data. That's information that's encapsulated in the experience. Same thing with Linear, same thing with LinkedIn, any social platform that you're working on. Zillow, same idea, right? All of these experiences at their core are powered by information, by data. And so, really getting our heads wrapped around data is a huge unlock for our product abilities. Now, like I was saying before, data has a life cycle. It goes on a journey throughout all of our product experiences. Think about Airbnb, right? Where does that data come from? Who's updating it? Does it ever get removed from our system? This life cycle and understanding all the different pieces of it is a huge part of designing and creating really robust product experiences. And fortunately for us, this idea of a life cycle of data is encapsulated in this acronym called CRUD. So CRUD stands for create, read, update, delete. Very, very simple, right? So every piece of data that we have in our system is being created, it's being read or viewed or consumed by the end user or our internal users. It needs to be able to be updated or changed as those needs evolve over time. And then eventually it'll be deleted. It'll be removed from our system and taken out of the experience here. So that's sort of the idea in the abstract. Let's look at it in a more tangible example. So, welcome to Jams. Jams is a little app that we built, and it's really focused around this idea of sharing music across platforms. I don't know about you, but I like stuff on Spotify, I like stuff on YouTube, I like stuff on SoundCloud, and it's annoying because I can't share my music with my friends and my family across different platforms here. I only can use one platform at a time. So, this app allows us to share music from different platforms in one convenient place. So, why don't we come over here? And we'll just take a tour of the experience. So first off, what do we see here? We see our jams, right? And these are sort of the collections of tracks that we are sharing. This is us reading data. So thinking back to CRUD, this is the R, right? We are consuming this information. And there's a lot of information in here. Let's look at these cards. We have the title of the jam. We know how many tracks are associated with the jam. And we know that a user, myself in this case, created these two. This one looks like it was a guest one. So there was no data associated with that. That's really interesting, right? Just the pure act of consumption here, just reading this information, we can better understand what the data is trying to tell us here. So this is normally when we think of like product design, this is where we kind of focus, right? We focus on presenting this information here and being able to go to engineering and talk to them and say like, well, what data do we have? What content or information can we even display in the experience here? There is a lot of back and forth that has to happen between our design and like what we're presenting to the user and what we're technically able to show and bring into the experience here. So this is a really fruitful area for collaboration between design and engineering. Let's go ahead. Let's keep exploring here. What if we click into Italian Summer? We can see we've got the name of the jam, we've got a little description here, and we've got different tracks here. And this is all from the currently popular Mind Enterprises. And if we clicked on one of these, it would open up in Spotify and we can go listen to the song. Great. Okay, that's great. But again, we're reading, we're consuming this data here. And we're noticing, okay, we've got some sharing, we got some editing, we got deleting. We're starting to see those verbs, those CRUD actions come back into play here. All right, well, what if we want to create a jam? We come back out here. Okay, let's create a jam. Let's see what we can do. We got some jam details. All right, what if we do my fun jam? This one rocks, right? And what if we did something from Spotify here? Spotify, of course, Fatboy Slim. We'll do some praise you. So we'll go ahead and we'll copy the link to the song. Awesome. And we'll go back. Okay. So we'll say praise you, Fatboy Slim. and we'll pop that in there. Great. Okay. So we've populated our form, right? We had to think through how do we collect all of this information from the user in order to create, and this is where that C comes in, the data that we need to display in the experience here. So if we hit save, boom, we've got our jam all set up. And we could have added more tracks here, right? We're just kind of walking through this example. But as we've designed the experience, we had to think about, okay, if we want to be able to show a jam, we need to be able to create a jam and collect all that information. What if we wanted to edit this? What if we, wanted to change this? My really fun jam or something like that. We can go in here, we can update, we can improve or tweak or edit this information here. And we save that. And now it says my really fun jam. So we've considered all of these different parts of the experience here. And if we go back to jams, we can see they're all up here, right? And you know what? Maybe, this isn't my favorite track or jams that I've ever created here. Why not go ahead? I'm just going to delete this here. And it's going to prevent us. It's going to say, hey, you sure you want to do this? It's a destructive action. And we say, okay. And we've removed that from the experience here. So in thinking through all of the different parts of this experience, we went through that full CRUD experience. We said we need to be able to create a jam. We need to be able to read them at a list level and then at a more in-depth level, kind of a show kind of page here. We need to be able to update these, give the user that ability, and then we want the user to be able to delete a jam when they're done with it, right? So in thinking through the CRUD data needs of our experience here, it kind of powered our entire experience. Now, think of any other app, right? If we look at Airbnb, let's go look at that. All this information had to be created. Somebody had to come into this experience and populate all of these listings. And those are the hosts in Airbnb's case. And then somebody had to be able to go in and update these listings. Maybe it's not available for certain days. That's what the host is going in there and doing. And then maybe the host says, you know what? I don't want to participate in Airbnb anymore. I want to remove my listing. Or I sold my house. I don't have the listing anymore. So they need to be able to delete this information. And of course, we're reading it. We're going in here, we're clicking, we're consuming all this information and understanding what the experience is all about, right? So as we think through the data needs, that life cycle of information, going through where are we creating this data? Are we reading it? Are we updating it? Are we deleting it? We're designing a much more comprehensive and cohesive experience. What I see a lot of teams do and where they get tripped up is they forget to think through all of those details. Product designers especially, we like to think through like the read experience because that's normally what users are interacting with. But we might forget about designing the creation of that data or the updating of that data. And that's always a really fruitful and productive conversation to have. Where does this data come from? Where does somebody need to be able to update this, or is it one and done? But they just remove it from the system if they didn't want it anymore. Data doesn't have to have all those attributes. It obviously needs to be created and is typically read. Sometimes we're never going to delete data. We want to say for auditing purposes, we're never going to delete this data. We're never going to delete this information. That has really intense data needs that we need to talk through as a product team. Or we might say, once it's been created, we'll never update it. We'll create a new thing, and that should replace whatever the old thing was. That's a really different data need than your typical kind of CRUD paradigm. And so being able to talk through all those points and kind of do it as a little checklist saying, as I'm designing this experience or I'm creating this experience, have I thought through where all this information is coming from? Create, read, update, delete. Okay, I've thought through all those things. I didn't think through deleting. Let's go talk about it with the team. Let's have a productive conversation here. You're going to see much more complete designs, much more complete handoffs. And this is also a really productive area where you'll see developers won't go off piste as much. When you give them designs that are incomplete, that don't have all these things thought about, who's going to end up creating and designing that experience? Well, it's the developer because they need to be able to populate and work with this data within the system. And so if you don't think about these things, they're going to go off on their own and figure it out for themselves versus now they can come and you can have a conversation and say, hey, no, I've thought about all these things. Don't worry about creating it on your own. Just go ahead and follow designs here and communicate that in your handoff process. So it becomes a much more productive experience here. So as you're tackling your next design and building out your next product experience, think through CRUD. Where is all that data coming from? How are you interpreting and viewing it? Are you ever going to be updating it? And what is the delete process going to look like as well? And I guarantee your designs are going to look so, so much better. I want to hear from you all, so feel free to leave a comment below with how CRUD is impacting your designs. And be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you all in the next video.